How will I benefit from considering encoding semiotic sign action? We saw in Season 2 how the audience is central and not the creative. But yes, it is the creative who has the hard work to do. So why should you spend time even considering what you have to design or illustrate through a semiotic lens? Surely it is time wasted. Let us explore the benefits. Okay? Welcome to episode 9, season 3 of Semiosis 101, where we explain Charles Sanders Peirce's semiotic theory of semiosis, sign action, in designer-centric terms. If you've watched Semiosis 101 episodes before, then you will already know I am Dave Wood. I use Semiosis 101 on YouTube, Patreon and Substack to provide a designer-centric translation of Peirce's semiosis. Why do you need Semiosis 101? Peirce's writing and terminology is very obtuse. On Semiosis 101, I translate Peirce's brilliant theory into language creatives will understand and can follow. After all, we study design and illustration and not philosophy, so we need theory centered to creatives' needs. Yes, that is why you need Semiosis 101. Season 3's semiotic theme is semiotic encoding, with a focus on how audiences make interpretations. What this season's theme means to you as visual communicators is that at long last you will see what semiotic signs can be or will be. We will build your confidence to encode semiotic sign action into your own designs or illustrations during your own ideation phase to enhance visual communication. In applying semiosis, its semiotic sign action is not predicated on the visual form the representation of a concept takes. Peirce's terms are iconic and lexical and symbolic, but also on two other points. How the semiotic representation is interpreted. Peirce's terms are rhyme, dissonance and argument, and how the representation conveys its meaning to be interpreted. Peirce's terms are qualisign, synsign and legisign. But what does any of this mean? Hit subscribe to this YouTube channel and I will explain. In the context of visual communication, will it take too long to bother encoding semiotic signs? After all, none of those terms mean anything to creatives. The answer to the question is no, as it is just now mindfully tweaking what creatives already do during ideation and sketching. But creatives have a point with the terminology. The terms are obtuse. Semioticians, you know what is coming, off-putting to creative people. Over 2 seasons of Semiosis 101, we have covered iconic and lexical and symbolic representation. Each new Semiosis 101 episode brings in new viewers, so these terms will always be obtuse. Now, in Season 3, I am dropping 3 further terms into play: rhyme, dissonance and argument, and qualisign, synsign and legisign. Whatever are we to do about explaining these terms? Do not press stop. Do not panic. We will now contextualize these semiotic terms into your creative practice. Just like during your ideation, there are things that are unknown and then known and provide you with insights to successfully answer a brief. These terms are just like that, nothing more. The ideas behind Peirce's obtuse terminology are what will be insightful. Trust me. So, to first recap on what viewers of Semiosis 101 already know from 2 seasons of episodes. Iconic, lexical and symbolic representation are the 3 levels of how a concept, meaning, can be semiotically represented. Rhyme, dissonance and argument are the levels of how interpretation is made from the semiotic representation. Qualisign, synsign and legisign are the levels that the form the semiotic sign takes to communicate. I'm still sensing incredulity out there. Let me put this in designer-centric terms. When you sketch a possible idea, what are you doing? You are trying to visually represent an idea you just thought of. As I say to my students who are reticent at ideation and want to rush to the Mac and Adobe to do design with their first idea. First, show me. Let's summarise. A creative gets an idea to answer the brief. That idea is floating around the synapses of their brain. The idea is genius, but how to visualise it? The creative makes a mark, a line, a shape, a colour. This begins to crudely resemble the qualities in the idea. This is sketched quickly on paper and is shown to another person. Remember, the creative has total belief their idea, now on paper, is genius. Surely everyone will see from a few lines their genius. The second person looks at the crude lines scrawled on the paper representing the idea that the creative believes to be genius and says, I don't get it. Is the idea not genius? At this stage, it's too early to say. Is the sketching poor? It is a sketch, so maybe, or maybe not. Is the second person an idiot? Absolutely not. So where does the communicational problem lie? Let me quickly append some of Peirce's lowest level terms to this scenario before we move on to resolving this. The creator makes a mark, a line, a shape, a colour. Iconic representation. This begins to crudely resemble the qualities in the idea. Grammatic. This is sketched quickly on paper and is shown to another person. Quality sign. Let us unpack this. The crude sketch is comprised of individual marks, lines, shapes, colours, etc. Once these are perceived as something meaning-bearing, they begin to work semiotically. Sign action has been triggered by the act of perception of someone else. As the creator, you know those marks do bear meaning, otherwise you would not have bothered. You have used iconic representation to try to encode meaning in a few crude lines. These lines suggest familiarity to qualities and resemblances of what defines the idea in your head. The second person cannot open your head and look into what you are thinking, so is reliant on the sketch and its iconic representation to try to understand. They see the sketched lines, these crude patterns suggest a probable interpretation based on their own lived experiences, not the lived experience of the creative. The second person sees the sketch, tries to interpret something from it based on the possibility of something they may have encountered before. Grammatic. They, in this scenario, then say, I do not get it. They see the line suggest some basic meaning, iconic. They have tried to find that basic meaning, grammatic, but how it has been presented is a sticking point in a successful interpretation. A quality sign, sin sign, and legis line are the levels of visual agency to ensure the meaning-bearing elements are perceived and successfully interpreted. Admit it, you thought I was going to say that the paper was the quality sign. A quality sign is Peirce's term to describe the lowest level of visual agency that is nothing more than visual qualities. What I've just described above is Peirce's lowest classification that a semiotic sign can take. An idea that is sketched with basic levels of meaning that are only represented as possible visual qualities to something that someone may find familiar. This is sign 1 in Peirce's 10 sign classifications. More on these next month. A first sketch to show what you mean is obviously something that is a first draft. It needs further refinement. This is how semiosis at the lowest level of visual representation begins to work. You have all done this scenario and heard, I do not get it. You do not give up, you refine, you resketch, and you improve your visual communication. Every time you resketch or select something else to communicate what you mean, you are crafting your iconic representation to enhance how someone else will understand, grammatic, what you are trying to visually communicate. As you refine your ideas and people begin to understand that this is that indexical representation, up to this now means that symbolic representation, their interpretations move from a possible meaning, grammatic, to a proposed meaning, dissonant, to an actual meaning, argument. As the semiotic representation of the concept to be visually communicated becomes more assured, and that its interpretation becomes more confident, the agency of how this is achieved, polysign, sin sign, legis line, is also semiotically strengthened. Semiosis is a process. Encoding semiotic signs with meaning bearing is not a manufacturing process. The audience's understanding is conditional. So, semiotic sign action, semiosis, is a framework to improve the effectiveness for successful visual communication. Applying semiosis maps to the creator's existing ideation practice. You are already doing it, in part, blindly, and not very well, as it is new to you. Boom! A mic drop moment. Was Peirce thinking of creators when he came up with his sign action theory? Absolutely not. That would be absurd. Remember, he was a philosopher, a founder of pragmatism, a theorist, a mathematician, and a great thinker, but his language is obtuse. Today's episode has taken me personally years to think about what he meant and how it can map to creative ideation. To explain it in designer-centric context, I have had to consider how true am I being to his theory compared to how can his thinking enhance visual communication practice. How did I even begin to go from obtuse theory into practical application? We all owe a debt of gratitude to two information scientists who, in a 2009 academic paper, analysed graffiti through a Peircean lens. As we end this episode on semiotic ideation, I have put Peirce's obtuse language into the context of sketching out the first idea during ideation. This is not only an example of how to understand the theory, but also serves as a simile to how semiosis is a flowing process of meaning making and not a manufacturing process of making signage. Just as your first idea is not your solution to a client's briefing problem, sorry students, get ideating more. Applying semiosis flows through all you create. Semiosis goes further. Just as your creative outcomes go out into the world beyond your creative control, so does how your audience reacts to your work. In next week's episode, we will pull all these flowing strings together. Do not panic if you do not get it yet. I am Dave Wood, a design educator and researcher, a published design author, and I've worked commercially as both a freelance illustrator and graphic designer. The guy behind the theory, Charles Sanders Peirce, was a philosopher, a mathematician, and a theorist. But he was not a creative. Each week on this Scout Scott Semiosis 101 YouTube channel, I will post at least one free 10-minute explainer episode on an aspect of Peirce's pragmatic semiotic theory. Each free YouTube episode features a take-home piece of applicable semiotic theory, and they do interconnect to build up your understanding of semiosis. Each free Semiosis 101 YouTube 10-minute episode will use design-centric terms instead of theoretical language. As well as the free YouTube episodes, I have two further Semiosis 101 semiotic resources you can subscribe to. Semiosis 101 producer roles are now available on Patreon. If you take out a paid Patreon Semiosis 101 patronage, you will get access to all the future season episodes months before they get published on YouTube. As a Patreon Semiosis 101 patron, you will automatically become a Semiosis 101 producer and get a name credit on all future YouTube episodes. Depending on which of the 4 producer tiers you choose, you will also get access to behind the scenes insights, cool Semiosis 101 Patreon merchandise, and other goodies for Semiosis 101 to continue making semiotic episodes. As a Patreon Semiosis 101 producer, you will be financially supporting the sustainable future of Semiosis 101 to keep explaining Peirce's semiotic theory. To become a Patreon Semiosis 101 producer, the link is in the description. I have a written semiotic resource available on the Semiosis 101 Substack. Here I have semiotic support materials for both free and paid Substack subscribers. There are full annotated reading lists, episode transcripts, 5-minute semiotic reads, plus other goodies and exclusive Semiosis 101 Substack merchandise. The Substack link is in the description. As a fellow creative and a published design author, I also have a link in the description to my main Scout Scott website. If you're interested in reading my semiotic Rosetta Stone academic writing, then you can visit my academia.edu link in the description. Any other books on Peircean semiotics or design I've mentioned in the episodes are also listed in the description. Check them out too. Thanks for watching. Check out the other Semiosis 101 episodes, like and share them with your friends. And hit the bell and subscribe buttons to be notified when next week's free Semiosis 101 episode is published. You can also follow Semiosis 101 on the socials for updates. It is at Semiosis 101 on Instagram and Threads. See you all again next week for more Semiosis 101 to help illustrators and designers to enhance your visual communication skills.